Today we're getting into the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news, including Tesla's record quarter, FSD version 14 rolling out to everyone, Rivian's new e-bike, Cybercab production, and more, so let's get into it, and a special thanks to Lasfit for sponsoring this video. First up today, Tesla held their earnings call and they reported $1.6 billion of GAAP operating income and an operating cash flow of $6.2 billion. They also had a record free cash flow of $4 billion. The main thing that went down here was their profits in relation to their revenue. Most people are citing vehicle incentives that they had in order to get that record quarter for vehicle deliveries for the reason that their profits went down. Some of their main operational highlights are that they launched their ride-hailing service in the Bay Area within the quarter. They had record energy storage deployment and record vehicle deliveries. Quote, "Our focus remains on scaling our core hardware business by maximizing our deliveries and deployments, as these products will deliver increasing value to our customers over time via services powered by AI. Regarding the robotaxi and FSD hardware and that Bay Area service, quote, "These efforts help refine our robotaxi service by providing valuable real-world data that will allow us to quickly scale to other cities in the future with our universal model. We announced a deal to manufacture advanced semiconductors for AI inference and training in the US with Samsung and further expanded our AI training compute capacity, bringing Cortex to a total of 81K H100 equivalents. For future product, quote, "We continue to evolve and augment our product lineup with a focus on cost, scale, and future monetization opportunities via services powered by our AI software." Then they specifically mentioned that they are leveraging and optimizing their existing production capacity before building new factories and production lines. The Cybercab, Tesla Semi, and Megapack 3 are still on schedule for volume production in 2026, and then first generation production lines for Optimus are being installed. On the call itself, Elon had a lot to say, and per usual had many bold predictions when it comes to FSD and more. For FSD, Tesla deployed FSD V14 in October, integrating features from their robotaxi builds. And it brings a lot of improvements, including handling complex scenarios and edge cases, such as road debris, emergency vehicles, and parking options. They've expanded FSD into Australia and New Zealand for AI4 vehicles, and then they did address Hardware 3 a little bit, which we'll talk about in a second. They still have regulatory hurdles to get through in China and Europe, which is limiting its deployment there, and that's likely why we're seeing them introducing cars like the Model YL over there and not in the US. Basically, their whole vehicle strategy has to do with FSD at its core. Tesla says that they reached that milestone of 6 billion miles driven on FSD in this last quarter. But even with that, only about 12% of their eligible fleet currently has FSD installed, which comes as not much of a surprise to me, but may come as a big surprise to a lot of people that use FSD every day. Only 12% of Tesla owners out there that are able to run this system and have the hardware already actually have it. Now, regarding older Hardware 3 cars, Tesla said that they are working on a V14 Lite version for those cars, targeted for Q2 of 2026. Now, that's the first time they've kind of referred to this as a lighter version. Of course, it needs to be lighter in a certain sense in order to run on that hardware that can't handle quite as much compute. But of course, it's still unfortunate to hear for those early adopters that were promised this on their cars, and now they're getting kind of a downgraded version. Overall, they plan to solve autonomy first before returning their focus to Hardware 3 support. But their CFO said if it's any consolation, he actually drives a Hardware 3 car. For the robotaxi service specifically, they're expanding that into the real world, and they note that this vehicle and service are designed to blend into traffic, unlike many competing products. When you see a Waymo drive by, you know it's a Waymo. When you see a robotaxi drive by, you may not know until you maybe see that decal. But they're targeting a very quick expansion here, targeting 8 to 10 metro areas by the end of 2025, of course subject to regulatory approvals. And then they want the robotaxi operation to occur in 2025 in some of these markets with no safety driver. They're expected to operate in Nevada, Florida, and Arizona by the end of this year, and then Austin would be the first city that wouldn't have any safety drivers. Austin in particular has expanded to about 3 times the fleet size that it originally launched with. Then comes Optimus, which is a very big future play for Tesla, and they describe this as, of course, having the potential to be the biggest product of all time. Version 3 will be unveiled in Q1 of 2026, and they say that this marks a major engineering leap. Elon said it will be so human-like that people will have to poke it to believe it's a robot. Learnings from Tesla's vehicle AI and autonomy efforts are being fed into Optimus, and they're starting to install those first-generation production lines. So we should see a lot more Optimus robots around, at least in Tesla's operations, throughout 2026. Now, when it comes to vehicle production, Tesla reaffirmed their focus on long-term growth despite trade and tariff uncertainty. And Elon specifically said, quote, "I feel confident in expanding Tesla's production as quickly as I can. I was reticent to do that until we had clarity on achieving unsupervised FSD. I think it now makes sense to expand production as fast as we can." So that includes their current vehicles, especially that new Model Y that they're using for the robotaxi network. But then, of course, that will also include the Cybercab. And he confirmed that they are on track to start volume production of this car in Q2 of 2026. Volume production there in 2026 will come alongside volume production of the MagBak 3 and the Tesla Semi, which are some other products we've been wanting to see scaled up over at Tesla. Especially the Semi is quite a bit overdue. But regardless, that is their plan for when they want the Cybercab to truly be rolling off assembly lines and be capable of actually going out and being used without a steering wheel or pedals. So as always, this is a very bold prediction, and it's something we will not be surprised to see pushed back. I'm sure that internally at Tesla, that is their goal, and that's when they plan to actually be producing the Cybercab. From a physical hardware perspective, I bet that they can achieve that by then. We're seeing this car undergoing a ton of testing at multiple Tesla factories in the US. We're seeing it at the crash test facility at Giga Texas and more. So they're probably quite close to production there. But of course, this thing relies on full self-driving unsupervised being fully achieved. And can that be achieved in the coming months? That is the big question here. And I think for everyone, they'll start to understand if this might be possible with the latest version 14 of FSD that is rolling out and each iterative version that we get there. This is expanding to everyone, and I actually downloaded it yesterday and was able to use it for one drive driving from my house to Burbank Airport. It was about an hour-long drive, and I tried out Mad Max, and it did the whole drive pretty much perfectly. There are some ways that you can notice it is a definite improvement over version 13. It's thinking about things a little bit more in advance, but at the same time, it's maybe a little too cautious, braking a little bit too hard for something that it sees as a possible risk. It's good that it's seeing it, but of course, they'll balance that out. Regardless, a ton of Tesla's future relies on this technology, especially in the United States, so this will be a very interesting next couple of quarters to watch for them. They had a record quarter when it comes to deliveries and revenue, which is very good for them, and then we'll see how things go into the future with profits overall because of the removal of the EV tax credit and the introduction of these cheaper models that may or may not do super well. Before we go any further, I want to thank today's sponsor, Lasfit. Lasfit makes a great set of all-weather floor mats and cargo liners for the Cybertruck. These heavy-duty liners are designed to fit perfectly into your Cybertruck to protect the interior in all climates and situations. It comes with precisely molded pieces for your front and rear seat footwells, the frunk, the sub-trunk, and the bed itself. With these mats, you'll have the entire interior covered as well as that bed. I love these mats in particular because I transport my drums pretty often, along with other heavy things in the truck, and they protect both my bed and the drums. They also give my interior a more premium look. Compared to the mats that come with your Tesla, this set goes above and beyond. Teslas are just basic carpet mats that are hard to clean and they slide around. Lasfits, though, are a sleek, perfect fit that are easy to clean while remaining comfy under your feet. These mats are all stain resistant, waterproof, and anti-slip. No matter what is spilled on them, food, sand, juice, mud, you can just vacuum it up, rinse it off, or wipe it down. Even after this mess, they look as good as new. The bed mat in particular is designed to protect the Cybertruck's bed, and I've been putting it through its paces with great success. Their durable design and high-quality materials ensure that they won't break down or deform under daily use, or even heavy wear and tear in extreme conditions. On top of that, they're made out of an environmentally friendly TPE material that's fully recyclable and free from harmful chemicals, making this a safe and sustainable floor mat option for your Cybertruck. To check out the Lasfit floor mats for yourself, click the purchase link in the comments and description below, and use discount code RS20 for 20% off. Next up today, Tesla is facing a recall of 12,963 vehicles in the US, or around 13,000 cars. This recall applies specifically to 2025 Model 3s and 2026 Model Ys, so these really are their latest vehicles. The issue here is a manufacturing defect in the battery pack where it's suspended. Specifically, a contactor inside the battery may fail, which could cause loss of power while driving. It's definitely a significant failure here because it may occur at any time, even while the vehicle is in motion. For the fix, Tesla will inspect and, if necessary, replace the battery pack contactor at no cost to owners. But of course, unlike many Tesla recalls, this is a hardware recall. This is not one of those software updates where it gets a big headline and then all owners have to do is wake up the next morning to find that their car was updated and has been fixed. This one definitely requires a visit to a Tesla service center, and Tesla will send recall letters to owners by December 9th. Again, this affects US-produced 2025 Model 3s and 2026 Model Ys, so I'm very curious to see who all gets this recall. Because I now have a 2026 Model Y, it's possible that my car could be included in this. In fact, what I'm going to do now is check in on this with the NHTSA site or Tesla's recall tool to see if my car is affected specifically. Since this is a fairly serious issue and it's affecting 13,000 vehicles, it's definitely worth talking about and considering and looking into. But of course, Tesla's production this year was more than 1.2 million vehicles through Q3. So this is only affecting about 1% of the vehicles that they've made this year. Next up today, when we look at this new Model Y standard and Model 3 standard, it's very interesting because we're seeing more and more of the features that Tesla has cut from this car to help reduce cost. Overall, this cost has only been reduced by about $5,000, but we're seeing enough downgrades that it seems like it may be saving them a little bit more than $5,000. Unless certain downgrades like the removal of basic autopilot, which don't cost them anything, really make us value it a little bit more than it actually affects Tesla's cost. Regardless, we've seen all the downgrades that we know about, and there are some pretty big ones, like the removal of tire pressure sensors. Instead, Tesla is using an indirect monitoring system there that compares the wheels and their rotation in order to give you a warning. This is all that's actually required for US federal standards. Now, the heated steering wheel comes in the Model Y and 3 standard in the US, but for some regions, it's labeled as if equipped. So the heated steering wheel may be something that they remove in certain markets. I can imagine them removing it in climates that don't actually really need this all of the time. Then one big change is the NFC capability on the charge port. This is where you can press the button on the handle and the charge port will automatically open. On some standard variants, it seems that this is being removed, so you'll have to either open it from the screen or just press on it and it will open from there. That's how I open my charge port a lot of the time anyway, so it's not a big removal, but of course this is a feature that they are downgrading as well. For the front trunk, the liner has been simplified to more of a fabric type of plastic. There's no drain plug, and then the weight capacity has been reduced from 110 pounds to 65 pounds. So there's a definite downgrade in the front trunk of the Model Y specifically there. And then another big one is the removal of key cards. Today, all Tesla vehicles come with 2 vehicle key cards, and then you use your phone as a key. For a lot of customers, including myself, the phone is really your key the vast majority of the time. And I can't actually remember the last time I had a true issue with that, aside from maybe switching to a new phone and having to set it up. But even then, it's very easy to set up at this point, and you don't need the key card to do it anymore. But I always still carry a key card for backup scenarios or to give to a valet or something like that, or if someone is simply going to borrow my car, now I don't have to give them my phone. But in the new standard trims of the Model 3 and Y, Tesla is not including these key cards. This is a little bit of a funny removal in my opinion because these are only $40, but if you need to get these after the fact, it will cost you $40. Of course, removing these features comes along with removing ventilated seats, removing rear heated seats, ambient lighting, rear passenger screen, autopilot, the premium sound system, powered adjustments for the steering wheel and mirrors, FM radio, the closed center console, and physical seat controls. This car is now shipping to customers and first people have been taking delivery, even though when it was announced, Tesla said it would be coming in December to January. It still seems like certain trims and options will be available then, but today they're starting to pop up in inventory, so if you're interested in this car, it seems like you could probably get one. But I am curious, are you interested in this car? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Right now, it seems to me that this car somewhat exists to make people go, okay, it's $40,000, and then decide, wow, that's a ton of upgrades. It's worth the extra $5,000. But one change that Tesla did just make is their 3.99% APR incentive when buying a Model Y is now available on the standard and premium trims of this car. Previously, it was just the premium trim, and that kind of made it another incentive to upgrade, but now 3.99% is available on the standard trim as well. Next up today, one of the biggest parts of Tesla that grew this past quarter that many aren't focused on is their energy business. And for Tesla Solar specifically, they have begun production of a new residential solar panel at Gigafactory New York. First deliveries of that panel are expected in Q1 of 2026, and this comes with improved aesthetics and shade performance. Tesla's energy business had shown some decline, and now it's showing signs of revival, with them launching solar leasing and expecting strong residential demand in 2026. It's actually quite interesting as well because this facility was originally intended for solar roof production, but it has pivoted several times, with Tesla never really truly scaling up that product. Next up today, Rivian is dipping their toes into e-bikes, which is quite an exciting thing to see here because they are a great company, and e-bikes overall are a cool growing market. Their e-bike is called the TMB, and it's launched by Also, which is a Rivian affiliated spinout. So technically it's not coming under the brand name Rivian. The bike itself will be labeled Also TMB. But it's priced around $4,500, so it's definitely a premium e-bike here, with a future base model coming in under $4,000. It has a modular frame which allows switching between a saddle, rack seat, and bench in just seconds, and then it uses pedal-by-wire as the drivetrain, so there is no physical chain or belt at all with this bike. It has up to 180 Newton meters of torque with up to 10 times pedal amplification, and there are two different battery options: 538 watt-hours for up to 60 miles, or 808 watt-hours for up to 100 miles. It's a Class 3 e-bike, so it has a 28 mile per hour top speed, and then a thumb throttle up to 20 miles per hour. Then it has a full suspension for comfort. Overall, it feels like a very, very premium product coming from Rivian, and Also because it includes smart features like a phone key, theft immobilization, and user profiles. It aims to redefine a sub-car mobility at a high price point compared to typical e-bikes. And the timing of this launch is very interesting to see with Rivian's overall broad approach right now. They're in the middle of kind of a challenging time where they've scaled up their current EVs to a good spot, but sales haven't really been increasing, and now the EV tax credit has disappeared. Upcoming, they're supposed to be launching the R2, which should be a very big move for Rivian, but of course it's a big play that requires a lot of execution. So at the same time, they're launching a much cheaper priced product under their Also spinoff, which is very interesting to see. I'm personally excited to try out this e-bike because I am a fan in general. Overall, Also says that they plan to rethink the bike in its entirety, and they see this as part of a broader sub-car mobility platform rather than just a bike. This is definitely priced higher than a lot of other options on the market that we see people getting. Today you can purchase a great e-bike for about $1,000, so this comes with a ton of great features and very cool things for that premium price point. It is competing with other e-bikes in that higher price point, but it's definitely that premium version. It's kind of like the Apple Vision Pro or something. So far, a few influencers have been able to try this out though, and they say that they really like it. That comes as no real surprise to me, but the timing here is quite notable because Rivian is facing some headwinds in EV sales, and their future really depends on their cheaper vehicles coming to be. So this is another spin-off of a different side of this business. Overall, I'm excited to try out this e-bike, and it's one of those things that kind of feels like an electric vehicle, a well-made electric vehicle, but it's a bike instead of having all of those bike things to it. It won't be for everyone, but I think a lot of people will be excited to see this, and Rivian overall does a great job when it comes to engineering. Now, unfortunately, over at Rivian, they're also facing layoffs of over 600 employees. That's about 4% of their overall workforce, and this follows a smaller round earlier in the month. The reasons they include here are the expiration of the US EV tax credit, reduced compliance credit revenue, and ongoing cost pressures. Rivian also cites competition, tariffs, and production costs as ongoing challenges that have basically forced these layoffs. These layoffs are definitely unfortunate to hear about from Rivian, but hopefully things can turn around a little bit once the R2 comes to be. Next up today, over at Samsung, they have announced their Samsung Galaxy XR. This is the first headset running Android XR, which was developed by Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm, and it's priced around $1,800. It has dual 4K micro OLED displays at 90 Hz and weighs around 545 grams plus a 302 gram battery pack. It includes a lot of premium features like eye tracking, hand tracking, a depth sensor, pass-through cameras, and a magnetic light shield, much like the Apple Vision Pro. As for light leak, this is one thing I'm very curious to see because it uses a forehead pad design, not a full face shield, which allows visibility of the real world below you and to the sides. So some light definitely enters from the bottom and periphery unless the light shield is then attached. This is different than the Apple Vision, which is just a full enclosure all of the time. Proper fit and a strap adjustment can reduce the light leak here as well if you want, but it seems like you really have a choice. Then this also includes support for controllers. These controllers support 6 degrees of freedom, and in reviews people say that these controllers feel a little mid-tier compared to what Meta provides. However, hand and eye tracking is really the primary input here, and it can replace controllers unless you're using games and want something much more precise. So it's very much aimed at the Apple Vision Pro. Overall, people say that this includes excellent display quality, strong sensors, and of course, a much lower price than the Apple Vision Pro, at about $1,700 cheaper. In general, though, reviewers are calling it technically solid, but lacking a real compelling reason to exist, other than being the alternative to the Apple Vision Pro. The Apple Vision Pro itself has been struggling, and in general, it seems like if you're going to buy this product, it's because you're already in that particular ecosystem. You're probably not going to see an Apple user fully in that ecosystem deciding to then switch over for this specific product because it's cheaper. Regardless, it is good to see some competition here, and I'm curious to try this out because high quality 4K OLED displays does make a very big difference. That's all the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see a full buyer's guide for the new Model Y, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.